I think that what people can do to realize this dream is to fully recognize their potential. I work with a lot of folks who seem to somehow not understand that they can be powerful folks in their own little places in the world, and that all they need to do is to simply learn a few new skills, develop a little bit more motivation, a little bit more creative approach, and to fully engage themselves. I think that what we've gotten to is a point where people think that things are kind of all right, and that other people are doing these things. But I think it's going to take individual folks committing themselves to be the best they can be and to move things forward as best they can. Now, while that needs to happen, there also needs to be some systemic changes. We'll have to continue to encourage and to fight so that we can make some impact on those who would have the power to make those changes. And we also must continue to remember that what Dr. King talked about was, locking arms together. And that's also with those who have power already. We need to find a way for our partnerships to be stronger so that things can move along.
Well, we have to take his words seriously, and thank goodness we're still paying attention to his I Have a Dream speech, and we're having holidays around that, and encouraging children to write essays about his ideas, and hopefully that helps move us all along.
Martin Luther King set the pattern. The pattern is here, but the pattern must be worked on a daily basis. Stepping on hate, stepping on envy, stepping on jealousy. And the resources we have, be able to pull it together.
My dream for America is that we will be what America was intended to be and never has been yet. I think it's Langston Hughes that says, let America be America again, but it has not been it yet, but it can be. My dream is that America will become what America was intended to be, and that was a place where the Statue of Liberty has open arms and welcomes everyone, a place where equality exists, a place where humanity is placed before self, where we think of us as opposed to me. It's a place that's safe, without guns, a place that has no need for prisons at all, a place that educates all children equally, a place that embraces every religion, all religions, all people, regardless of their sexual orientation, regardless of anything, a place that is open and welcoming for everyone. That's my dream of America.
Well, my dream for America is that we respect one another, that we learn to live with our differences, we learn to accept our differences, as long as our differences are not causing harm to anyone. And Dr. King, when he said that we can disagree, but it doesn't have to be a violent disagreement. And too often that has been the case where people disagree violently. And so we don't need that. We need to come to terms with our differences, try to reach some common ground, and move on. And there are people who've been able to do that in this country. They have been able to form coalitions along those lines and help reshape the country for the good of everybody. I mean, look at our first black president. Look what he did with regard to health insurance. And that had never been done before. Never. Where you're thinking more about the people, you know, black, white, brown, you know, Americans, period. And so the civil rights movement, in many respects, it helps us to move beyond that point where, and I think that was Dr. King's dream in particular, where it no longer matters what you look like or who you look like. You know, what did he say about the content of your character? That's the only thing that would matter. And that's what I would hope that, for my dream, that point that we can reach in this country.
Well, my dream for America is, I think, in essence, true democracy. And I don't mean by that just political democracy. Obviously, I want everyone to participate in the political world and to be able to vote and to express themselves, but a deeper kind of democratic ethos where people feel included, where they don't feel like they're second class or third class, or that someone around the next corner is going to reject them because of the color of their skin or the nature of their hair or the way where they come from. And of course, this extends beyond race to sexual preference and gender and things such as, you know, being physically challenged or maybe even intellectually challenged, religious prejudice, any number of things. And I think that for me, that boils down to aspiring to what Dr. King and John Lewis have been talking about for so many years, and that's the beloved community. I really think that phrase is even just in itself, the phrase, I think, takes you to a higher plane of understanding. Even though we may not know exactly what it is, I think it's something to aspire to, of mutual respect and dignity, an appreciation for what the real meaning of life should be and what the real meaning of community should be. And that we shouldn't be dividing into groups where we're trying to beat each other out, in some kind of race or competition. I think if we could somehow go back to a time when, pre-modern time almost, where there was more of a communalism, where we can certainly have our individualism and express ourselves and want to be successful and all those things, but it should be in the context of being stewards of the earth and of a kind of social capital that everyone should share, and you can do it through religious means or maybe just a more broadly spiritual, moral sense of reaching out to other human beings. And I think comes down as almost to be as simple as the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And I think there are a lot of people who aspire to that, but it's hard to find the institutional props and to somehow get to the entry point where you can make a difference. I think many people feel so impotent that there are these huge socio-economic forces, and how can one person or one group of people change the world? Well, I think if you look back at the Freedom Riders, they did. They show the contingency of history. The right people in the right place at the right time, who have enough compassion and conscience and commitment, they can change the world. The Freedom Riders certainly did. They changed the whole course of the civil rights movement. We wouldn't be anywhere near where we are today without them and the other people who put their lives on the line in the 1960s. So I think we still need people who can do that. We realize in recent months, perhaps the last 2 years, that some of the victories we thought that we had won are not fully won. And that kind of eternal vigilance is the price of freedom, and they don't call it the freedom struggle for nothing. And so I think we all have to be aware of that, and it's a common responsibility. I don't think we can leave it to political leaders or religious leaders You know, it has to be a sense of historical agency on the part of ordinary people. And I think one thing the civil rights struggle shows is that ordinary people can do extraordinary things.